You are a content creator, either shooting photos or you're shooting videos, and you might be in a position where you need to have extra storage. And we're recording, so right now I'm recording a Panasonic S5 II, and that means third camera, 2 more card slots, we needed more cards. And because the Panasonic specifically does 6K, we needed some bigger cards. Now, traditionally, one of my favorites has been the Lexar 1667x or the Lexar 1800x. Now, both of these are V60 rated memory cards. V60 means it's a video rating of V60, and that means they can do a sustained write speeds of 60 megabytes per second. However, the cards, basically, we have them usually generally the biggest 256. Now some of the 512s are coming out. And I wanted to go with bigger cards, and SABRENT, which is a newer company, well, newer company to SD cards, however, SABRENT has been making storage for quite a while. They came out with these, the V60 rockets, and these are available at up to 1 terabyte. These two cards that I bought are V60s, and these are 512 gigabyte cards, which are going to be perfect for 6, 7, 8 hours of 6K footage in the Panasonic. Just purely terrific for all-day shooting in almost any of these cameras. The question is, now that the SABRENT cards are available, should you get this or this 1800X, or the 1667X? Which ones? Let's go. So, as you can see, these are the two latest cards we added. These are numbers 14 and 15 to our memory card wallet. We also run some Kingston cards. And I do have a good amount of experience basically with these cards. So let's break it up between whether you are a photographer or a videographer, because that's going to make a massive difference between which card you should choose. So what do they all have in common? So all of these cards, and I'll just pick one of each, all of these cards are going to be Class 10 U3 V60 cards, which means that they are going to be just fine for taking sustained photos. And when it comes to video, these are all going to be able to, these are all rated for sustained 60 megabytes per second write speed. So for most of your codecs, if it requires a V30 or a V60, let's say you're doing 4K 30, 4K 24, or more compressed 4K 60 on one of these mirrorless cameras, all of these cards will be able to meet those requirements. So what's the difference? The difference is, so the V rating is the minimum sustained speed, but these cards are actually obviously capable of higher speeds. So when it comes to the read speed, so these were rated V60. Now Lexar, I'm going to take off this label just to remember exactly what they advertised. I believe they advertised 270 megabytes per second read speed, which is the same as the faster 1800X cards, versus the 1667 Lexars are rated at 250 megabytes per second. So that is the maximum speed at which they can transfer files from the cards to your computer. In practice, these were significantly slower. So we were only able to get about 150 to 200 on the SABRENT cards. The other difference between these is that the read speed, the sustained read speed, sustained write speed when we tested them with the DaVinci speed tester, were much lower on the SABRENT cards than they were on the 1667X or the I think they were faster than the 1667X, but they were slower than the 1800X. So where it's going to make a difference is if you're a photographer. So with photography, so what was it? We explained it in a different video. So for video, if your codec only requires 60 megabits per second, then if your card is faster than that, it's not going to make any difference for video because it's continually shooting. However, if you're recording stills and you're shooting wildlife or sports photography, the faster the card is, the faster you'll be able to transfer it from the buffer onto the card. So for photography, the Lexar cards, the 1800X or even the faster V90s would be the way to go in order to go that route. For video, if you don't necessarily record in the highest formats and you don't need V90, then these V60 cards from SABRENT are going to be good. And there's a meaningful price difference between these two cards, with the SABRENT cards being significantly cheaper, especially for the 512s, which the 512 gigabytes are almost the same price as a single 256 1800X card. So massive difference on them. Now, it will be slower in order to transfer information from the cards to your computer, but if you care literally about having maximum storage, this is going to be the way to go, especially if you're looking for a 1 terabyte card, which only the SABRENT right now makes the 1 terabyte SD card. These are limited to, I believe, to 512s. And the 512s on the Lexars are significantly more than the 512 on the SABRENT. So that's going to be the difference between the cards. So if you're doing video, I'd probably say if you're looking for maximum storage, do pick the SABRENT. If you're doing it for photography and you're doing a lot of wildlife or sports, then go with the Lexar. And if you're just a studio photographer and you don't really max out your buffer, then go with whatever one is going to be the cheapest for you. So that is the difference between the SABRENT, the 1800X Lexar, and the 1667X Lexar.